Welcome to Go Tutoring. In this video, we'll be solving the problems I have left you with in part 1 Trig. Let's dive in. So our first problem is sine of 60. Now in this triangle, I've given you the sides already, and you can confirm that the sides are actually correct by using Pythagoras theorem if you wanted to. But in this triangle, we don't worry about that. Let's just worry about using sine, cos, and tan. Okay. So sine of 60. Well, first I find the angle on this inside this triangle. Well, sine of 60. I'm looking at this triangle, and I remember so. Okay. So this is always whenever I see sine, this is what's going to be popping up in my mind. So, and I gotta divide the opposite by the hypotenuse. So opposite to 60 or opposite to this angle is this side here. Okay, and this side has a value of root 3, square root of 3. Hypotenuse is 2, which means sine of 60 is simply square root of 3 over 2. Okay, similarly with sine of 30, now this is a little different because now our angle has changed, so our sort of reference has changed as well. For 30 degrees, the opposite is 1. Okay, so if you notice very clearly, the opposite side to the angle 30 degrees is 1. So again, so you apply that again. So opposite is 1 divided by the hypotenuse, which is 2. So 1 over 2. So this is sort of a reminder. So for this 30 guy, this 30 degrees guy here, right here, this guy's opposite. This guy is always going to be the hypotenuse. And this guy's the adjacent for this guy. So ADJ. So depending on which angle you're working with, your adjacent and opposite are always they're gonna matter which angle you're looking at. Okay. So we'll get rid of those for now. Okay. So sine 45. Now sine 45. Well, how do you find sine 45? Well, I've given you this triangle here already that you can sort of apply and figure out what sine 45 is. Well, sine 45 is just, well, 45 is there already, and we know the side lengths are 1 and root 2 is the hypotenuse, and the other side is 1. So sine 45 is just, again, going to be 1 or the opposite over hypotenuse. So it's just going to be 1 over root 2. Okay, so now looking at cos 60, now we're going to speed it up a little. So cos 60, again, ka, as you remember, adjacent over hypotenuse, which means half. Okay. Now looking at cos 30, so again, adjacent for 30 degrees is root 3. Hypotenuse will always going to be 2. So root 3 and 2. Okay. Cos 45, again, we sort of have to find the triangle to know which angle we're working with. So in this case, we look at this triangle now because this is the triangle that has 45, 45 inside here. So cos 45 is adjacent over hypotenuse. So 1 over root 2. So 1 over root 2. Now tan is given as TOA, T-O-A, TOA, which means tan is given as the opposite over adjacent. So in this case, we're looking at 60, so we're coming back to this diagram here, this triangle here. So opposite over adjacent. So root 3 over 1. Okay? Now anything divided by 1 is just, well, the number. Okay? So we can just write this as root 3. Tan 30, now we're changing our reference again. So we're looking at this guy here. So 30, so now the opposite guy to 30 is going to be 1. And the adjacent is going to be root 3. So this one is just going to be 1 over root 3. Tan 45, again, we come back to this image right here. So tan 45 is opposite over adjacent, which is going to be 1 over 1, which is just 1. Okay, so the main clear thing that we sort of have learned, or we should know by now, is just applying it to a triangle.